Alright, perfect. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again. We are ready to continue with our showcase of the Ultimate Gaming Collection. That's mine, that's right, and I'm proud of it. No, but actually sharing all of these recommendations, all of these game recommendations, all of these interesting ideas of what you could get for your collections, and well, a lot of interesting games and different sub-genres that I'm sure you will all appreciate a lot. Sorry that I'm late once again, but well, you know, when I'm late it's because I am really busy. There's nothing I can do. So get ready, because tonight not only will be showcasing the racing genre, but also I'll be doing a small recap at the beginning. Give me a second. Let me update the title. Sorry. There we go. Perfect. There we go. This would be part number 5, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. Alright. So, let me ensure this is working perfectly. There you go. That's perfectly fine. Alright, it's working perfectly. We're ready to go. Okay, so last time we showcased, or at least I showcased for all of you, the third-person shooter genre. We had a lot of highlights. We also covered the hack and slash and open world action adventure games. But you'll realize, if you've been watching the series, that I've changed the layout for the different subgenres. Now the open world action adventure games are right here, the ones I highlighted last time. This one, The Lord of the Rings War in the North. I highly recommend you play this masterpiece from 2011. Yes, if I'm not mistaken. If it's not that, it's 2012, but I think it's 2011. I'm pretty sure of it. And as well as this one, X-Men Origins Wolverine. These are all hack and slash games with light RPG elements, and if you've been paying attention, this row of hack and slash games was down here. Well, I did a bit of a change, but don't worry, we'll go over each subgenre individually, and we are going to cover all of them. Of course, the 3D platforming and hack and slash genre, I'm not going to cover that because we've already covered them. I explained all of the technical issues, all of the details for all of these underrated games last time. But for example, the fighting genre, I'm going to go over that one eventually. But tonight, we are going to begin with the... Yes, we are going to begin with this one, because now, as you can see, this one remained the same. Classic RPG, isometric action RPG, MMO RPG, modern RPG. Here we have classic RTS. All of these, we've already covered them, so be sure to stay tuned and check out the previous VODs over at YouTube, because there you will have an in-depth explanation of each game. Yes, I went through the trouble of explaining the technical state, both the technical state as well as the gameplay mechanics and everything I could. These are a lot of games, but I explained all of them in depth as much as I could. Alright, so as you can see, the first change I made, I merged the classic RTS games with these 6 games, which are the space classic RTS games. Basically, Homeworld or Hamworld. The second part, I'm still waiting for Hamworld 3. We are all doing so. This is the remastered collection, as well as Scenes of a Solar Empire, Ancient Space, this one is pretty unknown, and Battlefleet Gothic Armada 1 and 2. Okay, so I merged all of those, and I added one game, so I wanted to show it, which is Wargame Red Dragon, and as you can see, I perfectly split the RTS row in classic RTS. This involves fantasy, science fiction games mostly, and medieval fantasy and science fiction, because they are all classic RTS games. You know, Age of Empires, Dawn of War, and Warcraft. There you have all of the classic RTS games. Then the MOBAs, the offline MOBAs, just in case you're interested, check out the second VOD of this series in all of these games. And the real-time tactics, mostly the Total War games, and some special cases, such as Warhammer Mark of Chaos Battle March, because this one is pretty similar to a Total War game, right? King Arthur 2, as well as The Ultimate General American Civil War. Alright, and then here you can see these are all real-time tactics games, but with squad-based tactics. I explained the difference between real-time tactics and real-time strategy during that very same VOD, so we're not doing that again. And these ones are all mostly based upon World War II. Well, I mostly have all of the historic periods of human history, right? So the Total War series, medieval and fantasy and science fiction, right here. And these are all based, well, Dawn of War 2 is science fiction, but most of them here are modern warfare, as well as World War II, most of them. So there you go. This is kind of like the most modern incarnation of the RTS genre. Iron Harvest, for example, that one mixed a bit of science fiction to some extent because of the robots with, well, not World War One, not World War Two, but one, but well, whatever. War Mongrels, the same. Well, there you have it. As you can see, the FPS row, which we also covered, has been reduced. It only includes now the classic FPS games, the arena FPS with bots that I've been recommending. I still need to do a dedicated video to all of these arena FPS games. I did a lot of highlights, so as I've said, check out the previous bots just in case you're interested. But just so you have a bit of a recap, because I reorganized the icons. Commandos, these ones are all tactical isometric games, but they all use stealth gameplay mechanics. Contrary to all of these are all just real-time tactics games with squad-based combat with cover and those things, but not stealth, right? So here I added these ones here just so there's more or less a proportion between the different rows, because otherwise this one would have been way too short. Third-person shooters, which we covered last time, and tonight we are going to cover the space simulation genre. A pretty interesting genre. So as you can see, we are going pretty much we're at the very same point we were last time. Last time we explored these ones, 3D platformers and hack and slash games and action and open world action adventure games. Now they're up there, and I brought the space simulation genre right here because it also involves shooting. So I thought that there's actually much more genre association between third-person shooters. They're much more similar to space simulators because they all involve shooting things, rather than 3D platformers and hack and slash games, which, while they have also the third-person camera, they don't involve shooting, but instead fighting enemies in melee combat. So, without further ado, let's head into the category for tonight. The space simulation genre. Well, this genre is extremely interesting because this one is pretty much exclusive to PC, as you will see. It's true that in modern times, namely the 8th generation, from the 8th generation onwards, I would say, but also there are some scarce examples during the 7th generation that I'm going to cover, that I'm looking at right now, this one. But well, we begin with Freelancer. Freelancer is pretty much the pinnacle and the stepping stone of the space simulation genre. While I've been unable to play most of these games, I more or less not only have an idea, because as you can see I have a lot of games and I cannot play them all. I would need to spend my whole day right here playing, and I cannot do so, but you get the point. I more or less have an idea of, maybe I couldn't complete a lot of them. You have previous VODs as examples. Freelancer. Pretty much you need to have this game in your collection because this is the beginning of the 3D space simulation genre. It's pretty much the jack of all trades. This game has everything. It has commerce, it has dodge fighting, of course. None of these games will be their gameplay won't revolve around simulation, but fighting, but space combat, as you know, because that's what I like. That's the reality. Freelancer, you definitely need this one. You need to mod this game. This copy is modded because I wanted to play this game on unlocked resolutions. So you need to mod this game. It's totally possible. Follow PC Gaming Wiki or Widescreen Gaming Fix, any of those guides, or otherwise, if you don't find the fix there, get to the original forums, because I remember that I found the solution for unlocking the resolution in Freelancer thanks to the original forums. If I remember correctly, I think it was that way. So yes, this copy is absolutely playable at 1440p, unlocked resolutions, as I've said, and I think it has a 60 FPS lock, if I'm not mistaken, and the game plays beautifully. It has that unique art style I've always been constantly commenting on. For example, the case of Advent Rising, those original Xbox games which didn't have ambient occlusion. You must be fed up of listening to me saying that, but it's the case. Games which are prior to ambient occlusion have their own unique art style that I love, and Freelancer is not the exception. This game is was exclusively released on PC. It's a great gem, so go get it now, especially if you enjoyed the Wing Commander series from the Super Nintendo, Wing Commander 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken, and then on the first PlayStation, Wing Commander 3, 4, and 5, if I'm not mistaken. The final game for the Wing Commander series, this is something most people ignore. was released for the GBA. Yes, it was released on the GBA a lot of years after the main fifth entry on the PlayStation. I cannot remember the name, but it was something about Prophecy. You Google Wing Commander Prophecy, GBA, and you'll probably find it. So, the spiritual successor, and probably the best spiritual successor to Wing Commander, to the Wing Commander series. There you have it, Freelancer, highly recommended. Remember to mod the game, so you can play that unlocked resolutions, but it's totally possible. Second game, also from Microsoft. Both of these are from Microsoft Studios, way before their recent composition, their modern composition, now that they have a lot of studios. So this is kind of like from the original team. That's what I'm trying to say. Darkstar 1. This one was also released on the Xbox 360, but as far as I remember, this version has unlocked resolutions. It plays great. This one is much more simple. It's a pretty simplistic game for the space simulation genre it belongs to. This one is, let's say, much more similar to Star Fox rather than Freelance. But well, that's absolutely normal, considering this one was originally released for consoles, for the Xbox 360 to be precise. So if you want to play Freelance, but you find that one way too complex, I highly suggest you play Darkstar 1. It's much more streamlined. It has a much more cinematic plot, similar to a modern game, so I highly recommend you also play it. I love both of them. Of course, Freelancer is the classic. It's exclusive on PC, so this one is pretty much mandatory if you like this genre. X2D Threat, I need to play the X series from Egosoft, from the German team Egosoft, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just using my memory, but yes. X2 The Threat, I'll just say this one needs a bit of modding, because if there's something I always hated about the X series, is that you cannot see the cockpit in some of the entries. I'm not sure if it was this one and this one, the older ones, the oldest entries. Of course, the first one, I think I tried, I remember, but it was impossible to play. Anyways, the graphics were extremely outdated. This one is in 3D. This one is pretty similar to Freelancer regarding the graphical quality. Maybe a bit behind, but it's more or less the same. So there's I kind of like have a minimum threshold that I never go beyond that, unless it's a remaster. So because the graphics are way too outdated, the frame rate will be a disaster. It won't support modern resolutions. So the bare minimum, I think it's X2. You have to mod this game just in case you cannot stand playing a space simulation game without the cockpit, right? Without the cockpit view, it's impossible for me. It totally destroys immersion. So yes, I modded this game just so it is much more similar. The point of view when you are piloting your spaceship is much more similar to a modern game. Nowadays, most modern space simulators, they all have a pretty a perfectly crafted cockpit view, right? Nowadays it would be unthinkable to release a space game just with the space without looking at your ship from the interior. The same could be said for X3. I think this one is the same case. It doesn't have cockpit view, and I think I modded it. It didn't have it, and I modded the game to add it. They all play. This one didn't need modding regarding. It didn't need modding regarding the resolution and the frame rate, if I remember correctly. And these are all the expansions. This one was recently released: Farnham's Legacy, Albion Prelude, Terran Conflict. I need to play Reunion. It's kind of like the main story. But yeah, I need to play most of these games. I just played a bit of each one of them, and that's pretty much it. But this one was recently released, so this one is much more modern. Most people hate this X Rebirth or X 3.5. Egosoft tried to kind of like release X4, and they actually released this. The graphics in this game are pretty impressive. You will feel not only the depth of space, that incredible feeling that all of these games have when they are modern space simulators. All recreate that feeling of emptiness pretty well, and it's pretty awesome. It's absolutely awesome when you look at the void of space. Pretty incredible. And this game, while most people hated it at the beginning, I think it's pretty well done. Maybe it's not as good, or it doesn't have as much content as X3 Reunion. Maybe this one is much more streamlined than the original X series games. It's much more simple. It's much more similar to Darkstar 1. If you liked Darkstar 1 and you don't want something way too complex, you can definitely, or you should definitely check out X Rebirth, because it's also pretty streamlined. It's much more simple. But the graphics are pretty good. The technical aspect of this game is incredible. And well, if you like the complexity of X3 with the graphical quality of X Rebirth, well, then you have the even more recently released X4 Foundations. This one is praised by pretty much everyone I know. They all say this is the best entry pretty much out of all of the modern releases. Of course, most people think X3 Reunion is the best. My opinion regarding the X series, which is pretty much the main section of my space simulation collection, the X series are pretty much mandatory. X3 and all of its expansions are the most complex space simulation games I've seen in a while. Consider that I've never played EVE Online because of the online part. Remember, I don't support prostitution or the sacrilege of the gaming industry. So regarding offline space simulation games, the X3 series, especially X2 The Threat and X3 Reunion, they are extremely hardcore. The learning curve for all of these, it's extremely steep. All of these games have a steep learning curve, so you need to know what you're doing. They're pretty complex, or well, otherwise you can always play X Rebirth, which is kind of like the light version, as well as Darkstar 1. But well, yeah, I would recommend Freelancer, pretty much mandatory, and all of these. Remember, I'm just recommending modern space simulation games, which you can mod and you can actually make them run at unlocked resolutions and unlocked frame rates. If I cannot do that, I don't recommend the game, and I don't have it here because they all pretty much look awful on a modern screen, right? So rest assured, if you want to discover this beautiful genre, this space simulation genre, here there's not only combat, there's not just dodge fighting, but also economy, even politics to some extent, trade, pirates. So yeah, you have pretty much these are all huge universes for you to explore. You can fulfill your dream of becoming a spaceship pilot from the comfort of your sofa, of your chair. But well, now, but just so you know, all of the games I'm recommending, they can all be played at unlocked resolutions, and they all look absolutely great. Starpoint Gemini 2. Well, the first game here was kind of like a prototype. I could be wrong, but I remember reading a lot about it, and most people didn't get to play that game. What people actually praised and loved was this one, Starpoint Gemini 2. So don't look for the first one, because the first one is pretty much a prototype as far as I'm concerned. So give me a sec, because there we go. The first one was pretty much a prototype, and this one is the one everyone loves, me included. This one has a pretty interesting... it's not an isometric camera, but it's a third-person camera, which isn't what you are thinking. It isn't like Star Fox, this game. This game has a lot of RPG elements, so while, of course, Freelancer has some roleplay, the same for X3, most of these games have some RPG elements, but Starpoint Gemini 2 has also RPG elements regarding combat, not only plot and character development. So if you want a pretty interesting mix between space simulation, RPG, isometric action RPG, similar to Diablo, but with a lot of abilities. If you liked EVE Online, well, I think you'll love Starpoint Gemini 2, as well as its sequel, Starpoint Gemini Warlords. And last but not least, this one is the beta for Starpoint Gemini 3. Godspeed to the developers, or for the developers. I hope they finish soon and we can all enjoy this third entry. But all of them highly recommended. Starpoint Gemini 2, Warlords, and Gemini 3. I need to showcase the space simulation genre much more, because it's also a forgotten genre and it truly deserves more praise. The Battle of Zol, also it could also be called the Battle of Sun, because that's the translation. This one is pretty interesting. It's an indie game, but I haven't tried it, but it's also a great option if you liked especially Starpoint Gemini. These are all pretty similar to Starpoint Gemini. The Battle of Soul, Rebel Galaxy, they are not as complex or as good as Starpoint Gemini, but they are pretty similar. And Rebel Galaxy, or Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. These three, the Battle of Soul, Rebel Galaxy, and Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. If you liked Starpoint Gemini, I suggest you try them. So I thought you're going to I think you're going to enjoy these three because they are pretty similar. The camera, regarding the gameplay system, maybe they are not as good as Starpoint Gemini 2, but well, if you finished all of these three games and EVE Online or whatever, you should definitely try these ones. The Battle of Soul, it's much more forgotten, but well, they're all good. This one is from 2015. These are all modern games. The space simulation genre, it's kind of like special in that regard. These are mostly modern games. This one is from 2014 or something like that. And well, these ones are from 2015. This one is another one, but this one is not like Starpoint Gemini. This one is kind of like the traditional space simulation game, similar to Star Fox, similar to... These ones have a more point-and-click system. That's the idea. Pretty much like EVE Online, mixed with Diablo, space simulation mixed with isometric action RPG. That's the thing. These are all point-and-click space simulation games with RPG elements. Check out the gameplay if you don't trust me. So you can convince yourself of what I'm telling you. House of the Dying Sun, just in case you don't trust me. You should, because I've given you a lot of highlights to make your collection even better. House of the Dying Sun. House of the Dying Sun, it's an indie game, but it's much more similar to the X series without the depth of the X series. So probably if you liked Darkstar 1, House of the Dying Sun, it's also a great recommendation that I give to all of you, that I'm giving to all of you, because you can't go wrong with any of these games. These are indie games, AA games, but they are... You have my certification, they all have a lot of quality. Then you can thank me and tell me, Eraser, you know a lot of games and they are all great. Thank you for recommending all of these games to me. Then you can do so. But first, check out the gameplays for those games and you'll realize they all have a great quality and great gameplay mechanics, and you'll love them. And the graphics are all fairly modern, so don't think that I'm just sending you to play games from the early 2000s and that. No, you will be surprised by the graphical quality of these games. Even though someday I'll bring you games from well, I brought you a lot of games from the early 2000s with great graphics, but I have even better examples. For example, Scud Race or Sega Super GT. That one is from the 90s, and that racing game looks better than a lot of modern games. You would be surprised. No Man's Sky. At the beginning, I hated this game because it had no content, no combat. It had nothing. It was emptiness. It was the very definition of emptiness. No, I just recently got this one because previously I hated this game because this one was much more about exploration and resource harvesting, similar to Minecraft, and I hate Minecraft, and I hate these sandbox games, not to be confused with open world games. But nowadays, according to what I've seen, this game has incorporated, it has added survival and, well, a much more aggressive game mode, which is the one I'm going to eventually play. So don't worry, this game has redeemed itself without bluffing a lot, without being pretentious or pompous at all. No, they silently worked on this game. The developers, they are Hello Games, they redeemed themselves. Maybe a bit too late, but yeah, no. I think the game is pretty good as it is now. Totally different from the initial release, so don't worry. Everspace, well, you need to play this game. Don't look no further. If you want a simple, straightforward, but incredible, this one is much better than Dark Star 1, as well as House of the Dying Sun, that's for sure. This one has better graphics, better gameplay, impressive graphics, to be honest. This one, I think it uses Unreal Engine. This game is gorgeous. Play it right now. One of the highlights. You need to play this game 100%. I would recommend you play that one, as well as Rebel Galaxy, as well, and of course Starpoint Gemini. The X series, well, you have to mod them, kind of like the entry. The entry bar, it's a bit high in this case because you have to mod them. Otherwise, you won't see the cockpit of your ship, which is the main attraction of all of these games. They are pretty complex, so this one has a cockpit view by default, so I suggest that you can try X Rebirth if you like much more. If you like Star Fox and simplistic third-person shooters, space simulation shooters, Dark Star 1, X Rebirth. If you want something much more complex, similar to EVE Online, X3 Reunion, X2 The Threat, and of course the Freelancer is mandatory regardless of what you like. And if you like something like Starpoint Gemini, and you like things like, sorry, what did I just say? No. EVE Online. If you liked EVE Online, go for Starpoint Gemini 2 for the Starpoint Gemini series. And you can also, I would suggest among these three, Rebel Galaxy. I would suggest Rebel Galaxy, and well, also Everspace. This one is pretty much mandatory. You need to play this game. Strike Vector X, these ones I need to try them, but they are all great if they are here, trust me. I faintly remember these games. Starway Fleet, Space Pirates and Zombies 2, Nexus the Jupiter Incident, or Jupiter Incident. This is a pretty old school game. Be careful because this one is pretty old. This one is point and click. Not like Starpoint Gemini, because in Starpoint Gemini you use WSAD as well as Rebel Galaxy, but they are pretty similar to isometric action RPG games and those games. So Nexus the Jupiter Incident, this is point and click. This one is point and click. You don't use WSAD at all. It doesn't have that fixed camera of Starpoint Gemini 2, so this one is much older. I don't think it's modded because this is a remastered version. This version is remastered. It's a cult classic, highly praised by the community, but no, this game is old. It's from 2005, relatively old, and it's much more strategic, just so you know. This one I cannot say because I haven't played it. Scrapland, this is a recently released remaster from an original Xbox game, which was exclusive to the original Xbox. but nowadays you can play it on PC. I don't know if it was released on any other console, any of the modern consoles, but this is a great game. However, it's not a space simulation game. You actually can. There are some sections in which you. Well, it involves a lot of science fiction and spaceships, and that's why I placed this game here. In this game, you have to kind of like control your pilot without when he's not piloting a ship. That's pretty much it. So it's a bit more cinematic, if you ask me. I haven't finished the game, but well, this one is totally different. It's not a space simulation game 100%. Galaxy on Fire. This game was originally released for mobiles, and I suggest you don't underestimate this game because it's a pretty similar case to Sentinel-3 Homeworld, which is the one I've been showcasing, the last game I've been showcasing. Don't underestimate Galaxy on Fire 2 just because it was originally an Android game. Don't do so, it's a terrible mistake, because this game is pretty good. If you liked Star Fox, you will love Galaxy on Fire 2 because it's really pretty similar, and I am grateful we have a PC port just like with Sentinel-3 Homeworld. All of the games released during the era of the first iPhone, the second iPhone, 2007, 2008, 2009. This one is from 2012, well, but pretty much the same. They were all great. Don't let anyone confuse you regarding some mobile games. It's true that nowadays mobile games are absolute shit. That's 100% true, objectively. But originally, during this period of time, we had a lot of great mobile releases. They all had their own personality. Check out Sentinel-3, check out Galaxy on Fire 2, and the third, check out the original Galaxy on Fire. If you don't trust me, check out the gameplay at least. At least give it a try. Check out the gameplay at least, and you'll see that I'm not lying. I know what I'm talking about. And the third entry in the Galaxy on Fire series, it's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch, as well as, of course, mobile phones, and it's not as good as this one. This one is pretty much a great game. Galaxy on Fire 3, while it has better graphics, isn't as good as this one, nor is the first one. This one is the one you want, and this is a great game. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Strike Suit Zero, another great game. I suggest you try it. I haven't played it a lot. It doesn't have great graphics, but don't think they are ugly. No, don't think they are terrible graphics. They are not bleeding edge technology. That's the idea. But I also suggest you try Strike Suit Zero from 2013, if I'm not mistaken. This is an indie game and it's pretty good. Panzer Dragoon. Well, we are getting close. Well, this is kind of like this section of the one-to-one Star Fox replicas. But no, Panzer Dragoon is actually a famous series from the Sega Saturn, as well as the original Xbox. I have Panzer Dragoon Ortha. I played on my Xbox 360 with the backwards compatibility I always mention. It plays perfectly at 60 FPS because it's part of the official program. And every console, on every console you own, you need to have a Panzer Dragoon game. These games are great. They are incredible. If you like Star Fox, you'll love this game. As you can see, the epitome of the 3D space shooting games, for me, it's a Star Fox without a doubt. Star Fox 64, the 3DS remake, it's pretty good, so but you won't find it here. The Falconeer, well, this one was fairly advertised, so I don't think we need to do so here because this one is on modern consoles, just like Panzer Dragoon. And this game is pretty much the same as Panzer Dragoon. 3D on rails shooter. These are not space simulation games. I just placed them here because the gameplay mechanics are, in the end, fairly similar, but these are arcade 3D on rails shooters. They are shorter, they are much shorter than all of these space simulation games. These are all pretty much exclusive to PC. These ones are kind of like the arcade original experience from consoles. See that all of these are not only released on consoles, but also they are played with a joystick instead of a keyboard in something like the X series. These are kind of like hardcore space simulation games with economy, with a lot of different variables that you need to take into account when trying to learn the gameplay mechanics. These ones are arcade, fast-paced action on-rail shooters. 3D on-rail shooters with a lot of action. You know the drill. The Falconeer, Redout, Space Assault. Most people don't know about this entry, which was that game was created by the same developers as the incredible Redout anti-gravity racing game, similar to what was it? The F-Zero franchise from Nintendo, similar to F-Zero to F-Zero GX. Well, the creators behind Redout released this on-rails shooter called also Redout, but in this case Space Assault, and it's pretty good. The developer behind these two games is extremely talented, and sorry, this one, Redout, and you should definitely check out Redout Space Assault, because most people ignore this game while they remember the original Redout, which has nothing to do other than the fact that it was developed by the same company, but this one is from the same developer. I thought it was an interesting fact that most people ignore. Subdivision Infinity DX, I cannot say anything about this game because it's way too modern and I haven't tried it a lot, but I remember the images and they look great. Feel free to check out all of the games I've been showcasing. I love doing so. I love watching YouTube VODs with a lot of these games, with real collections, with a lot of forgotten games, which most people sadly ignore. So yeah, definitely check out Subdivision Infinity DX, Warhammer 40k, Daka Squadron. This is Warhammer, pretty much. This is mandatory. This one is with planes instead of spaceships, but it's Warhammer, it's the orcs, it's the WAG, it's the everything. It's the Warhammer universe. It doesn't need any kind of presentation. It's pretty much perfection. Fighting orcs all over the place, and it's incredible. Or playing as the orcs, if I'm not mistaken. I need to try this game. And the last entry of the space simulation genre, this, I'm not sure what this may be because this one is so modern. Remember, I always play all of these subgenres kind of like in order, from the oldest game to the to the one which was released latest, to the latest released game. This one had good graphics. It had an interesting plot, if I'm not mistaken, according to the gameplay I've seen. Pretty good, pretty good. But I haven't tried it, so I cannot say. Honestly, I cannot say. But yeah, it looked good. The gameplay mechanics look pretty good, pretty solid. So this is my final recommendation. Alright, so we finished with the space simulation genre. As you could see, it was pretty much split between arcade, on-rail, 3D on-rails shooters, similar to Star Fox, and hardcore simulation, hardcore space simulation games. That's the idea. These all involve economy to a complex degree. As I've said, a lot of things you need to take into account. Then the Starpoint Gemini approach, as I like to say, which is using WS-80 with a fixed camera right behind your ship, but it's not like there's not as much. I don't know how to explain it because they are similar in a lot of things, but Starpoint Gemini doesn't require of you that extreme precision regarding shooting. It has a lot of RPG elements. The same for Rebel Galaxy. So take all of that into account, but these are all great games. They all work at unlocked resolutions, most of them without mods, without using mods. I suggest you mod X2 Threat and X3 Reunion to include the cockpit view. It's easy to do. I think that X3 and all of its expansions, you won't need to mod the resolutions just for this one. These are all fairly modern. They all use, in the sense that they all use 3D graphics, maybe without ambient occlusion, but they all look pretty modern, pretty good. Since this genre is mainly exclusive to PC, they have unlocked frame rates, and otherwise they have a 60 FPS lock, but never a 30 FPS lock. So I suggest that you give it a try to the space simulation genre, to the arcade 3D on rails shooter genre, and you won't be disappointed. And you won't be disappointed in case you like dodge fighting. For example, the one present in Star Wars Battlefront 2. Where is it here? If you like that dodge fighting, well, you can try the more arcade experience of Panzer Dragoon, of the Falconeer. You could also try, I suggest you try the Arc Star 1, because this one is forgotten. I think I needed to mod this one, and I wanted to showcase it. So yeah, I personally need to give more lab to the space simulation and on-rails shooter, 3D on-rails shooter genre, this arcade version of the space simulation genre. But well, it's a genre I've been unable to experience throughout my history as a player. I've been mostly unable to get into this genre, but I need to do so. It's one of my pending debts. So yeah, I'll fix that as soon as I don't have to work or do anything else. But yeah, don't do that. I wish I could experience the space simulation genre earlier, and I'm doing so now, and well, don't do that. So if you can, of course, never forget your duties. But if you can, this genre definitely deserves much more lab, and I personally need to dedicate more lab to this genre, because since it's exclusive to PC in a lot of cases, it's complex, it has a lot of steep learning curves. Well, most people ignore that genre. Well, Second genre, one which is this one, contrary to what I've been describing some seconds ago, contrary to the space simulation genre, this is the twin stick shooter genre. One, it's a pretty special case for me because it's one of my favorite genres. I played a lot of the games that you are going to see right here, and this is, I would say, this genre is one of the best ever created in the gaming industry. I know, extremely weird, my assessment of reality, but the twin stick shooter genre is a personal favorite of mine. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out all of the games I'm going to showcase right now immediately, because this genre, you will regret not trying it. You will regret it, because this game, it's incredible. If you like this genre, if you're a veteran of this genre, I suggest you check out the PS3. Why? Because the PS3 was pretty much the most prodigal system regarding, or at least the most prodigal console regarding twin stick shooters. A lot of forgotten exclusive twin stick shooters. One day I need to do that, but check out the library, the PS3's library, because it has a lot of excellent twin stick shooters. A lot of them exclusive and developed by Sony. And regarding the Xbox 360, I suggest you try out a game developed by Electronic Arts. I know, try not to puke, but try not to vomit, but Microbot, you should try Microbot, right? And you will probably that one is exclusive to the Xbox 360, I think. But well, I won't bore you with all of the twin stick shooter exclusives. I know it's I dedicate. I don't want to say I'm an expert regarding that genre and regarding the 7th generation especially, but well, it's a genre I love a lot. So we begin with the ones I have here on my PC, which is the biggest portion of my collection of twin stick shooters. Alien Swarm, and this is pretty much the strongest, the best, one of the best twin stick shooters I've ever seen, if not the best. This one is developed by Bulb, indeed. By Bulb, indeed. This is the, remember always to get the reactive drop edition, because this game originally, think you know about Mario Maker. Well, this is the Mario Maker. This is the Mario Maker of twin stick shooters. Yes, way before Mario Maker even existed, back in 2016, Mario Maker 1 and then 2. It was 2016 or no, 2013 or something like that, the first one, because it was released on the Wii U. I don't know. The second one was 2017, so no. The first one must have been 2013 or something like that. Alien Swarm. Let's focus. Here you can download a ton of community levels, which are all pretty well done. Bulb released a lot of, let's say, official maps for the game, just like Nintendo did for Mario Maker 1 and 2. So you have an insane amount of content, endless hours of fun. The gameplay mechanics for this one are pretty smooth. The gameplay is developed by Bulb using the Source engine, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty similar to Defense of the Ancients 2. So you will love this game. Get the reactive drop edition and download tons of community levels. My version, which is this version, since I'm a lone wolf, is pretty interesting because this version, with this offline single player command that I introduced. As you can see, I don't need to use Steam. I made this version. I don't need to, because as I've said, check out the first VOD. I want to have immediate access to the game, and with a single command line, I unlock all of the gameplay, and I can play on my own without any kind of connection, without launching any kind of launcher, without running any kind of launcher. I hate that. As I've said, I wanted the original experience of playing PC games right here, and this special copy of Alien Swarm, it's certainly the best. Just as I mentioned, these 3 copies of Call of Duty games which have their own offline server, and I am allowed to play multiplayer against bots and even more, as I said some days ago. So you need to get Alien Swarm Reactive Drop, the Reactive Drop edition, and I suggest you do all of this modding so you can manually download a lot of community levels and you can play on your own without internet connection. This version is portable, just like Defense of the Ancients 2. I don't need to have internet connection. I can grab the files for this game, put them into an external hard drive, and bring them with me on holidays or whatever, and I have an absolute blast. So, learn to mod Alien Swarm and you won't regret it. The game is great. The gameplay mechanics are excellent. I don't know why Bulb never expanded the amount of official levels in here. I think there are only 7. But well, it's the Mario Maker of Twinstick Shooters. Highly recommended. You need to have this game. Regardless of what kind of genres you like, you need to have this game. You can play it with your friends, of course, if you want. I'm a lone wolf, but you can play it with your friends. 100%. So yes, it's exclusive to PC. It's exclusive. It's one of the most unknown games developed by Bulb, but definitely one of the best. It's if you like Left 4 Dead 2 right here, if you liked Defense of the Ancients, if you liked Counter-Strike Global Offensive, in my case all of these are modded offline versions because, as I've said, I personally think it's a sacrilege depending on an internet connection to play a game. I bet the owners of Gran Turismo 7 must agree with me nowadays. But well, that's a discussion for another time. So, get Alien Swarm. I cannot highlight enough how great this game is. Second one, the sequel to Shadowgrounds, exclusive to PC as well. This one is also exclusive to PC. One more thing, the graphics in here, they are pretty good. Also, if you liked Half-Life 2, which I moderately liked, let's say, it's not among my favorite games, you will also probably like Alien Swarm because it's pretty much the same. Shadowgrounds Survivor. Exclusive to PC, the sequel to the original Shadowgrounds. This one has much better graphics, much better gameplay. It's a cult classic among the PC community, regardless of what you may think. This is a twin-stick shooter. It's considered this game was released back in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. It can get a bit hard at times, but totally recommended. You need to play this one. It's also mandatory. Yes, you won't regret it. The same could be said for the Alien Breed trilogy, also on Xbox 360. but the PC version, of course, is the best. All of these games are best played with a controller, with a twin stick controller. So yeah, the Xbox One controller I use, it's pretty perfect for all of them, but you can use a PS4 controller. But well, these are all. If you ever played the twin stick shooter genre, these 5 are my highlights. All of the Alien Breed series, Shadowgrounds Survivor, and especially, of course, as well, Alien Swarm. Moving on, we have Warhammer 40k Kill Team. By the way, all of these games look pretty good. I would also highly recommend this one. This is a great game. This is Warhammer. You know, if you see Warhammer, that's pretty much... the game will pretty much be awesome. It will have a lot of gore. And in the case of this one, I'm not sure if I had to mod it. Yeah, of course, the custom artwork for most of the icons here, it's done by me. That's something, well, you can, it will be difficult for you to replicate because I had to personally edit one by one all of the icons. But well, highly recommended as well. Here you explore an abandoned ship similar to Dead Space, but I don't like Dead Space. But well, if you like Dead Space but not the part of running instead of killing and confronting your enemies, Warhammer 40k Kill Team was made for you. All of these have cooperative options for you to enjoy. No, not online, but kind of like on LAN networks. Renegade Ops. I'm going to showcase this game because this game looks great. I highly recommend this game. I'm going to showcase this one soon because this game is not only gorgeous, it has unlocked graphics, unlocked resolutions, unlocked frame rates. It was made using Unreal Engine. The game looks great. It looks better than most modern games. You know what this game looks similar to? It looks similar to Bulletstorm, the art style. So you know how good Bulletstorm look. If you know how good Bulletstorm looks like, you more or less have an idea of how incredible Renegade Ops must look. Regardless of that, the gameplay mechanics are on point, perfectly executed, and it's an absolute blast getting through its levels. I cannot recommend enough playing Renegade Ops, especially the PC version, because it's the best version. This one I'm going to showcase it for all of you at the highest graphical settings because this game is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And you can run all of these games with a potato PC without any kind of issues. They are pretty much isometric games. They are mostly from the 7th generation. That's why I love the 7th generation so much, because this genre not only was revived during this generation, but it also blossomed poetically, perfectly, giving us all of these exquisite gems of the twin stick shooter genre for all of us to enjoy. Renegade Ops, try it. Gatling Gears. Well, this game was similar to the case of the Divinity Original Sin series. I've been criticizing so much because of the prostitution they've done with Baldur's Gate 3, which is actually Divinity Original Sin 3. But Gatling Gears, it's a similar situation to what happened to Divinity Original Sin. In case you don't know, I'll tell you the full story. Just like Wizards of the Coast, the creators, the ones which have the license for the Dungeons and Dragons intellectual property, told Larian Studios, they told them, well, first you have to prove yourselves with your own game, and then we will give you the the name of the Baldur's Gate franchise. Then we'll give you the Baldur's Gate franchise. Just like that, Microsoft told... I cannot remember the name of the company because it was kind of like a boot stepping on the ground. I cannot remember the name of the company, but Microsoft told this independent team to first prove themselves with a game before getting to develop the next two games I'm going to showcase. Gatling Gears, it's pretty good. I don't think it's as good as Renegade Ops and the ones I've been showcasing because it's mostly the first try they did. But imagine that if their first try was good enough as for Microsoft to then give them the Halo IP, the IP for Halo, and they developed Spartan Assault and Spartan Strike, they must have done a good job here. I agree, the game is good, I played it and it's pretty good. I love the twin stick shooter genre. For me the game is great, not just good, but well, I can admit it's not as good as Renegade Ops. But Halo Spartan Assault and Halo Spartan Strike, I suggest you don't underestimate these games because, well, they forced me to install Windows 8 back in the day. I know, pretty cruel. These games are incredible. They were released for Windows Phone, just in case you're interested. Just in case you still have a Windows Phone, you can have these games, the portable version for these games, but the PC version is of course the best. They have unlocked frame rates and unlocked resolutions. You faced a lot of tanks. The soundtrack in these two games is great because of course they have the soundtrack for the Halo license and all of its tunes. So I highly recommend you try both of those because they are excellent twin stick shooter games. They are relatively long for this genre, for the average duration of most twin stick shooters, and you should definitely try Halo Spartan Assault and Strike 100%. Well, we arrived at Arrowhead Studios, or sorry if I couldn't remember the name properly, I have a lot of game companies in here, but I think it's Arrowhead Studios. They developed Gauntlet, and pretty much, if you know the story, Arrowhead Studios was behind Helldivers, which I think it's the most influential twin stick shooter of the 7th generation, released for the PS3, the PS Vita, and then on PC with all of its expansions. This game, if you liked it, it's the spiritual successor to Alien Swarm, and that's a lot to say. You need to have this game with all of its expansions. Democracy Strikes Back, I remember a lot of them. Dive Harder, I think they recently released. It has so many expansions and it has a lot of content. You can play on your own all of these games. I do so just to challenge myself. In a lot of cases, the game, all of these twin stick shooters may get extremely tough and difficult because maybe you need to play them cooperatively, but they are definitely playable on your own. It's totally enjoyable, and they also are a great challenge. You need to have good reflexes, and you need to strategically get through most of their levels. So Helldivers, you need to have Helldivers. It's mandatory, regardless of, as I've said, regardless of the genres you like. Alien Swarm, Alien Breed, Shadowgrounds Survivor, Renegade Ops, Halo Spartan Assault and Strike, and Helldivers are pretty much incredible. But then you can get Gauntlet, you can get Warhammer 40k Kill Team, people mostly forget about that, Gatling Gears, and Gauntlet. Well, if you This one has nothing to do with the original released a lot of years ago. This is a twin-stick shooter. This one, in this one, you know, this one is... No. I think this one wasn't developed by Arrowhead, now that I'm coming to think of it. I'm not sure if it was... No, yeah, it was Arrowhead, because the other option is that they are also the developers of Forced Showdown, which I also highly recommend. This Forced, if you liked Forced and Forced Showdown, you need to play Gauntlet. I'm not sure if it's the same developer there or is the same that developed Helldivers. Give me a second. Give me a second because I want to see something. I'll check it out on stream. Yes, I cannot. Sorry, but I cannot. I cannot live with this. I need to see the name of the developer. No, but this is the original arcade game. No. Yes, Arrowhead Studios. I was right. Ha! Take that. Yes, it was Arrowhead Studios. Yes. So, Forced Showdown and Forced, different developer. I don't think it's Arrowhead Studios, but I remember they are pretty similar. That's why I'm not sure. Let me see. No, I cannot. No. The one which developed Forced Showdown, it's Beta Dwarf, the developer, and in the case of Gauntlet, and yes, that's why they are separated. Indeed. and in the case of Gauntlet 2013, this one is Gauntlet from 2013, and Helldivers, yes, it's Arrowhead Studios. The Helldivers, you need to play this one from 2015. It's the modern incarnation of Alien Swarm and the finished version, and a much more polished and finished version, because this one is not like Mario Maker. In this case, the developer created most of the content. The Red Solstice Chronicles MIA, and the Red Solstice 2 Survivors, get them right now. I know I showcased these games more or less over here, but after watching a lot of other gameplay videos, they are point and click. That's why I never place them here, because this is the twin stick shooter category, but it's true that they don't have real-time tactics elements either, so they are much more similar to a twin stick shooter, in spite of the fact that they use point and click system in this case. Here you have to fight hordes of zombies and mutated creatures, but get them right now, regardless of the fact that you like real-time tactics or twin stick shooters. You need to get these three: the Red Solstice Chronicles MIA, and the Red Solstice 2 Survivors. Thank me later. As I always say, thank me later. You will enjoy most of the games, or all of the games I'm showcasing, if you know what we do right here. Geometry Wars 3 Dimensions Evolved. Get this right now. This is an arcade twin stick shooter from the classic Geometry Wars series. This doesn't need any kind of presentation from my part. Classic gameplay, 10 out of 10. Get this game right now. The one most people forget about is Geometry Wars Retro Evolved. This one was also released on the Xbox 360 alongside a sequel, Geometry Wars Retro Evolved 2. However, most people forget about the fact that the PC version for Geometry Wars Retro Evolved is the best, because it has unlocked frame rates and unlocked resolutions, and this game looks pretty gorgeous. Of course, its younger brother, Geometry Wars 3, is definitely the best of them all. I suggest you play this one just to get first. I suggest you play this one first, just so you get used to the gameplay mechanics and the mindset you should have when getting to Geometry Wars 3. Why? Because in here, these are arcade games and the objective is to survive and simply get the highest score. In the case of this one, you, let's say, officially beat the game once you reach a score of 1 million, right? Kind of like when you get to level 25, 30 in Tetris. Well, this is the same. This is pretty much the same. Once you get to a million score here, you can get to play Geometry Wars 3. That's what I personally recommend. Then you do whatever you want. This one has a kind of like an in-game trophies or achievement system, which will tell you how good you are performing, and once you get to 1 million, well, you were able to beat the game. But it's pretty arcade. Transcripted. Well, this game is so forgotten. It was so difficult to remember. I played this game. Definitely, I played most of the games I've been showcasing, but this one, before we get to this one, the reason why I recommend Helldivers as well as Alien Swarm so much is because of their replayability. Because most twin-stick shooters are short. It's an inherent feature of this genre. It's an inherent feature of this genre being short, but Alien Swarm, with all of its community content, as well as Helldivers, with all of its developed content by the creators, by Arrowhead Studios. Arrowhead Studios, if you're watching, you guys are the best. Of course, all of these studios right here are the best. I'll tell you the name of the developer of Gatling Gears. It was Front something. But I want to give you the exact name. What was the name? Vanguard. Sorry, Vanguard Entertainment. Vanguard Entertainment is the studio behind Gatling Gears, Halo, Spartan Assault, and Strike. I hope you guys develop more twin-stick shooters in the future, and you are all great. You are my heroes, more or less. You guys are my heroes. I know it's weird to listen this from players, but yes, you guys are my heroes. And the same for Arrowhead Studios, that they developed all of these incredible games. Well, this one in this case is Bulb. What could I tell you about Bulb? So, Transcripted. Do you like puzzles? Well, if you like puzzles, if you're a masochist, and you also like twin-stick shooters, if you like all of those three things, you'll probably like Transcripted. I played this game back in 2028, if I'm not mistaken. 2008. Yes, 2008, 2009, something like that. I was planning on replaying this game just to showcase what a refreshing idea mixed with the twin-stick shooter genre can achieve. In this game, you are kind of like a nano ship, and you have to solve puzzles at the same time you are being shot at. It's a bullet hell. It's a puzzle game with a steep difficulty curve. This one is not about shooting a lot of things, but surgically striking specific targets to the point. Sorry. You are able to solve some puzzles and cure humanity. It's an indie game, but I suggest you don't underestimate the team behind this game, because I'll tell you the name of them, because They also developed the next game we're going to review, and they are pretty awesome. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? There it is. The exact name is Alchemy. A-L K or K-E-M-I. Alchemy. You can Google all of the games I'm showcasing and you will find their names. But yes, this studio is extremely underrated. I think they are French. And Transcriptive. Drift and Drifting Lands, which are their two most famous games. I think they are their only two games. Now that I'm coming to think of it, they are incredible. Both Transcripted and Drifting Lands. This is a horizontal side-scrolling shooter, similar to the R-type series, but it's not a twin-stick shooter, but it's here because it was developed by the same company, and you can see the similarities between those two games. At least I can regarding the gameplay, the handling of things, of the vehicles. So yeah, highly recommended. Transcripted. I'm going to stream this one. The same for Drifting Lands. Highly recommended. This game is much more modern. They look beautiful. These two games look beautiful regardless of their ages. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised by the quality these two games have. They are incredible. Especially Transcripted, the how the background of all of the cells and the body, it reminded me of Microbot that I mentioned. And as well, before I forget, before we get to Tachyon Project, check out Nano Assault X on the 3DS or Nano Assault Neo X on the PS4 or PS5, because the Nano Assault series developed by Shinen, I have all of their games, the ones developed for the GBA, which are Iridion, the ones developed for the Nintendo DS, which they are Nano Stray, and then Nano Assault X on the 3DS and Nano Assault Neo X on the PS4. Those are also mandatory because Shinen, they know what they are doing. The developers of Fast RMX, go ahead, check all of the games I'm mentioning. You won't regret it, and thank me later. Tachyon Project. If you liked Geometry Wars, you can even see that it's the same concept. Tachyon Project, the PC version is great. Don't get the PS Vita version if you can get the PC version, because it's the best. So pretty much all you need to know. And we get to Magica, also developed by Arrowhead. Careful with these two, because here in these two, I suggest you research a lot before getting these two, because they are not like Helldivers 100%. Here you have to combine your spells, do all sorts of crazy things. It's not like a traditional twin-stick shooter. So no, these ones, they have a much more steep learning curve regarding how to combine the spells. And well, but if you like the style present in Helldivers and you are willing to spend a bit more of time, play the Magica series, you won't regret it. As I've said, they are all great games. Wanted Corp. Most people forget about this forgotten game from 2014 or something like that. I don't remember. What I do remember about this one I haven't played it. As you can see, the icon is it's a bit pixelated. I need to change the icon. See how awful it looks like when I don't change the artwork for the icons. See how horrible it looks like. Developers need to fix that. I hate it when developers release games, perfect games, but with pixelated icons. They just need to use the cover. If I could do it, they can do it perfectly. Wanted Corp. Go ahead, check it out, because I haven't played this one. It looks good, I remember, but not much to say about that one. Well, these ones are from 8-bit or something like that. Another great indie company which developed these 3 games: Crimson Land, Neon Chrome, and the one I love the most, their most recent entry, Tesla versus Lovecraft. I know this will sound stupid, how this game ridicules in some cases those 2 historic figures, one from science fiction literature and the other one a great inventor. How they both command their own armies of monsters and robots or incredible engineered creations. I think the advertisement for this game was science versus magic or something like that. It's extremely crazy. Play this game. Out of all of the, I think it was 10 ton or something like that, entertainment, something like that was the developer. But yes, I cannot recommend enough Tesla versus Log. Sorry, I cannot remember, sorry developers, but I cannot remember over 1500 games, each one which is the developer, especially for a lot of indie games which I have here. I cannot remember the exact name. I more or less faintly remember all of them, where they come from, but not perfectly. So I highly suggest you try Tesla versus Lovecraft right now. Play this game, and then if you like this one, play Crimson Land and play Neon Chrome. You won't regret it. Assault Android Cactus, I didn't like this one a lot because of the level structure, which is similar to a mobile game, which I don't like, but the game looks great. I just don't like the artistic part of it, the art style, but the gameplay mechanics are perfectly fine, so I like the game overall. 9 Parchments. This one was from a famous... This one is from Frozen Bytes, if I'm not mistaken. See, for me, this is a great source of entertainment. Trying to remember all of the developers. 9 Parchments. This one is from Frozen Bytes, if I'm not mistaken. The creators of the Trine series. Yes, Frozen Bytes. Yes, I was right. Frozen Bytes. Frozen Byte, sorry. The developer of the Trine series, the famous Trine series, which we're going to cover soon enough. Absolutely classic 2D platformers, which I highly suggest you try. They also developed this one. I don't know why this is unknown, because I played this game. It has awesome graphics. You are a mage. In some sections, one would say it's similar to the Magica series from Arrowhead. But yeah, I highly suggest you try this one, because Frozen Byte, they have a lot of talent. You guys have a lot of talent. The Trine series are great. The stealth game, the 3D stealth game, similar to Aragami you developed, which is Shadowwen, it's also great. I highlighted that one during the last VOD. It's also great here. I think I left it somewhere over here. Shadowwen. I bet you must be wondering, how am I able to remember where is every game? Well, that's the idea. Being able to immediately access all of these games. Genetic Disaster. I love the art style in this game. This is a pretty simple indie game. It's 2D, I think, but I love the art style, so I will recommend you check out this one. I'll recommend you check out this one. Maybe it's not as good as the previous ones. 9 Parchments. Highly recommended. I don't know why, I just saw it has mixed reviews on Steam. This game is great. I played this game. No, this game is great. Sorry. This game is objectively great. Forget it. Ignore the mixed reviews on Steam. This game is great. Genetic Disaster as well. It's not as good as 9 Parchments or the great Tesla vs. Lovecraft or the big boys of the genre, but it's good. I need to try this one as well, the most modern ones, this one as well, but Mages of Mistralia or WISGR, WISGR, whatever. This one was also a great game, I remember. Trident's Wake, the same. Dangerous Scavenger, I played this one, and it recently had an update. Pretty good. Bostock Incorporated, this is a 2D game with a ship. This is pretty different. I don't recommend you play this one as much as the other ones. I don't recommend you play this one called Cuber's Arena. This is very simplistic. The same for this one, Demon Strikes Back. The Contra Rogue Corps. Is this a twin-stick shooter? Yes, it should be a twin-stick shooter, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. Modern graphics. I suggest you try it. If it's a twin-stick shooter, I will like it regardless of most of the things the game has done. Another one I wanted to recommend, it's Bombshell, which is not here. But well, it's also a great game, which was pretty hyped, and it's also pretty good. I need to get a copy of Bombshell. Live Lock, this one is good. Extremely good. The same for Hybrid Wars. Don't underestimate the games I'm highlighting. Live Lock and Hybrid Wars, they're pretty good. This one, if I remember correctly, as well, Trident's Wake. And well, Next Machina. This one is a must play. You have to play this one. This was made by Housemarque. They recently released Returnal, but before Housemarque developed Returnal, they used to develop twin-stick shooters, probably the best of the PS3 and one of the best twin-stick shooters I've ever seen. Among them, the Stardust series, Stardust Ultra, Stardust HD, Stardust Portable. The PS Vita version is pretty good. Resogun HD, whatever. All of the collections they released. They released a lot of twin-stick shooters. But you have Next Machina. Next Machina is playable on PC and is the best version. This game looks gorgeous. Perfection. This one is perfection. And I will say the same for Darksiders Genesis. As a long-standing fan of the twin-stick shooter genre, I was thrilled when I saw Darksiders Genesis. This is not an isometric action RPG game, because most people would place this game right here with Diablo. No, this is a twin-stick shooter, because there's no point-and-click system. There's no point-and-click system, and you have to actually aim. And yes, you just like Gauntlet. It's the same case as Gauntlet, because in Gauntlet you use some melee weapons, but you still have to use the right thumbstick in order to aim for the enemy. You don't do that in Diablo, so it belongs right here. Darksiders Genesis, it's perfection. Get this game right now. You need to get Next Machina. You need to get Hybrid Wars, Live Lock, Next Machina, Darksiders Genesis. This was kind of like the modern wave of twin-stick shooters, and I am so proud, thrilled, and happy of this genre, of what this genre has become, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. The same for The Ascent, recently released by Microsoft. This one I didn't like it a lot, but well, probably I will uninstall this one, but well, you have to get these games. Next Machina, the PC version, Darksiders Genesis, and The Ascent, they are pretty much mandatory. This one is mandatory as well. If you like Destiny, yes, the FPS, the MMO FPS game, you will like Kill Squad. This game has a lot of quality. Go get this game right now. Don't underestimate this game just because it's an indie game, because this game is great. This one I think I'm going to uninstall it because I played it and I don't like it. Kill Squad, don't underestimate this game. Do not underestimate this game. You are making a terrible mistake if you do so. It was recently finished. It was developed. It was under development for a lot of time. Trust me, you need to get Kill Squad immediately. But immediately. If you don't trust me, check out the gameplays. Check out the game on your own. As I say, always do that. But all of the games I've been highlighting, you need to play them if you like the twin stick shooter genre. Last but not least, Blackwind. I still need to try this one because as you can see, this genre, I love this genre so much that I played most of the games, but this one was recently released. I haven't had the time to try it, at least, not complete the game, but at least try it, play most of the levels. These are relatively short, so you shouldn't have any kind of issues. So this one I cannot comment on, but well, we're going to analyze this one soon enough. I mean, on my own, but well. So we finished. This was the twin stick shooter genre, the space simulation genre, which also included. I also included here the arcade 3D on rails shooters shooter genre, similar to Star Fox, the Star Fox genre, 3D on rails shooters, and well, these ones which are with the fixed cameras and with a lot of RPG elements. So yeah, we've covered all of those. The third-person shooters here, we had already covered them previously, so we are done with that row. Great, so let's get to what we were originally going to showcase tonight. But as a final highlight, as I've said, Kill Squad 100%, recommended The Ascent, Darksiders Genesis, Nex Machina, Hybrid Wars, Live Lock. This one, if you are long-standing, if you are a veteran Contra fan, you'll probably hate this game, but if you like twin stick shooters, you'll probably like it. That's all I can say. Danger Scavenger, Trident's Wake, 9 Parchments and Genetic Disaster, maybe a bit less Genetic Disaster, but definitely 9 Parchments. Tesla vs Lovecraft. The Magica series, they are a bit hardcore. They are great games, but they are a bit hardcore. You know, do what you want. You decide on your own. Drifting Lands and Transcripted, 100%. Geometry Wars, 100%. The Red Solstice, Helldivers, Gauntlet, Halo, Renegade Ops, the Alien Breed Trilogy, Shadowground Survivor, and Alien Swarm. I've given you an infinite amount of possibilities. You no longer have the excuse of saying, I don't know what to play. You have plenty of games right now that I've recommended. House of the Dying Sun, a lot of sleepers, let's say, a lot of underrated gems. The Battle of Soul, Rebel Galaxy and its sequel, Everspace, all of these. We have everything nowadays, gentlemen. We have everything nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. We have everything we could ever ask for. Alright, so we've covered the space simulation genre, the twin stick shooter genre, and we are going to get to the 5th row, what I was actually going to do tonight. But we had to finish that because I changed the layout for my icons to better reflect the subgenres. For example, as I've said, this is all RTS and real-time tactics, RPG, with MMORPGs, classic RPGs, isometric action RPGs, modern RPGs. You have all in the previous VODs, just in case you're interested. As I've said, I added Wargame Red Dragon right here, great game. Here we have modern military games. These are total war games, pretty much. They have a genre of their own, which is the real-time grand scale tactics genre. Real-time tactics genre with grand scale, and the RTS genre. I merged these space RTS games because the gameplay is classic, while they have kind of like depth. You can actually go above or below your enemies, but they're pretty much the same. Alright, we are going pretty fast. because I want to cover tonight this fifth row, or at least the racing part, because we are beginning with the racing genre. I don't know why people ignore the racing genre. We are going to separate with the simulation racing genre, or simulation arcade genre, which is a mix, and the pure arcade genre. Well, then I'm going to do a lot of highlights of what I have up here, because here I have a lot of arcade games. Most of the arcade, of the pure blood arcade racing games are right up there. A lot of classics such as Daytona USA 2, 1, the best versions, which I'm able to play modernly with a lot of modern enhancements, as well as Sega GT, which I need to showcase that game because that game is perfection. Sega Super GT. But well, we're going to begin with the game I did showcase while I did my monologue, my discussion about the undermining of the term console exclusivity, how relativism affected the term exclusivity regarding the gaming industry, and all of those things. How philosophical relativism has affected and undermined the true meaning of the word exclusive. But well, that's just in case you are interested, check out my VOD. But well, Outrun 2 Coast to Coast. This is actually Outrun 2006. I love that custom cover I did, because it was pretty difficult to find that specific photo I love so much that you have right there, the original icon. I don't like it. And yes, what could I tell you about this game? This is the last great arcade game racing arcade game made by Sega, except for Storm Racer G, because I love Storm Racer G. Let's say the last arcade racing game available on PC and consoles. The PC version is literally the best nowadays, locked 60 FPS. This one has the bloom fixed with a pretty simple fix. You can, with a bit of file editing, you can easily fix the bloom issue this PC version has, and it's pretty incredible. The other version that I recommend you get besides this one is the PSP version. Why? Because regardless of the fact that you trust me or not, the PSP version for Outrun 2 runs at 60 FPS most of the time. It has some hiccups, or whatever. It has some dips to 30 FPS, but most of the time it's 60 FPS, and I suggest you get this version and the PSP version. Just like I did for Star Wars The Force Unleashed, that it's now up here, that I suggested you get the PSP version as well, because they are incredible ports. They are mind-blowing. And the PSP port for Outrun 2, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. But yes, this is definitely the best version, and the main version which you should get. Just so you know, you can fix the bloom issue. This works with a controller. You can customize the controller, do whatever you want, and the game has exquisite gameplay mechanics. Horizon Chase Turbo, this is no longer an underrated game. Everyone knows about this game. The Senna expansion they released lately is great. The PS Vita version for this game is one of the last physical games for the console. While it's great, it's a very poor port, even with the updates, so I don't recommend you get that unless you are truly lacking this version. So yes, get this one immediately. Most people forgot about Hot Racing. I like this game. It doesn't have it isn't as good as Horizon Chase Turbo. These two are kind of like the best. Outrun 2006 with all of the fixes that you can do. It has a strong community behind it. You can fix a lot of things, add rumble to your joystick, everything. Fix the bloom, everything. Get this one immediately. The racing genre was actually the first genre I ever experienced. Check out the first VOD of this series and you will find out which was my first game. And you'll know why I also love the racing genre so much. Hotshot Racing, I also recommend this one, but it's not as good as Horizon Chase Turbo. This one is also a modern indie recreation of classic Sega arcade racing games. So if you like those games, you'll probably like Hotshot Racing. Inertial Drift. Get this one immediately because this one is great. And probably the most forgotten Outrun 2 clones I've ever seen. One of the best examples of arcade racing games done right in recent years. Inertial Drift is incredible. Get this game immediately. I wouldn't say it's just as good as Horizon Chase Turbo because Horizon Chase Turbo it's the epitome of perfection regarding this genre. I mean, in the sense of modern examples, modern recreations of classic arcade racing games. Of course, it's not as good as Outrun 2, but Inertial Drift is pretty close to Horizon Chase Turbo. It also has pretty neat neon graphics that you'll enjoy. Similar to another game released for the 3DS and the Switch, which is 80s Overdrive. I also recommend that one, especially the 3D version, which is the one I played. It looks crispy and awesome. The 3D effect for the 3DS of that game, it's probably the best I've seen. So it's like being instead of a tunnel. 100%. Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. This is the final entry in the Crazy Taxi series. I have the original Crazy Taxi 1 on the Xbox 360. I have Crazy Taxi 2 on the PSP. Get the PSP version because the PSP version is Crazy Taxi 2, which is Fair Wars or something like that. I don't know. It's Crazy Taxi 2, the one on the PSP. All of the references I'm doing to the PSP can tell you how much of a prodigal system regarding the racing genre the PSP is. But yes, I have Crazy Taxi 1 on the Xbox 360, the live arcade version. Then Crazy Taxi 2 on the PSP. Of course, I didn't have to mod those. And then Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller right here. This one is the one which was released for the original Xbox. This one is in my opinion, because everyone loves Crazy Taxi 1, it's a cult classic. I think Crazy Taxi 3 is the best version, but it has a problem. The PC version is the one which is playable nowadays. I don't know how else you could play it. How else you could play this game? Because you will need an original Xbox, because the backwards compatibility of the Xbox 360 doesn't work with this one. So this is the best version. This one is pretty much the best version. It has a rock solid 30 FPS lock, which you cannot break, which you cannot fix. You cannot fix the 30 FPS gameplay of Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. because that would break the game's physics. It's hard coded like this, so no. I've searched for the fix and it doesn't have any. We don't have any fix. So if you can bear the 30 FPS, this is a great game. I play it regularly, and it's totally playable. The resolution is unlocked, right? So I played at 1440p, but with a 30 FPS lock, but it's not as bad as other 30 FPS games. It's playable, trust me. Coming from someone who has been spoiled for the past 10 years, or at least 5 years, it plays pretty well for 30 FPS. It plays pretty good. There's one last thing. It doesn't recognize analog inputs, so you have to actually use this one. You have to actually use this one instead of using this one and this one. You have to use this one right here. You have to do it like this. Accelerate and brake. Have to do it like that. Next up, Taxi Chaos, the modern incarnation of Crazy Taxi. I don't know why people hate this game, because I like it. I like the graphics. I don't like the fact that it has forced temporal anti-aliasing. I need to fix that. Eventually, we are going to. Eventually, the community will find how to deactivate the disgusting anti-aliasing in here. But yes, it's pretty much the only clone we have for Crazy Taxi. I suggest you get it because while it's lacking content and those things, it's a modern incarnation of Crazy Taxi. I think if you like Crazy Taxi 1, 2, or 3, you'll like Taxi Chaos. But yes, as I've said, try to learn to mod this version. This one has a custom icon that I did with the cover. This one has a lot of game modes people never got to know, because this one is much more complete, as I've said, when compared to Crazy Taxi 2 and 1. Alright, I just finished my grapefruit juice, and I'll continue telling you. Learn how to mod Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller and you won't regret it. Get the first one for the Xbox 360 because the PC version is absolutely broken unless they remaster the series. Get the first one on the Xbox 360. It's the best port. It's the HD port with 60 FPS. It looks and plays great. You are actually able to use the LT and RT bottoms of your joystick. So get the first one for the Xbox 360. Get Crazy Taxi 2 on the PSP because it's the best and most complete version, and then you get Crazy Taxi 3 here on PC, and you mod the problems with you mod it so you can play it at unlocked resolutions with a joystick, even though it has that small problem, and well, at least at rock solid 30 FPS, because the game has been hard coded and there's no way to get beyond that, just like Skyrim and its 60 FPS limit. Midnight Club 2, developed by Rockstar, the team behind Midtown Madness 1 and Midtown Madness 2. Probably the second game I ever played in my life was Midtown Madness 2. Then they developed the incredible Midnight Club series. The first one, I have it on the PS2. I actually used the PS3, kind of like with the backwards compatibility. Then this one is Midnight Club 2. And then Midnight Club 3 can be played on the PSP. And finally Midnight Club Los Angeles on the Xbox 360. All of them are great games. All of the Midtown Madness series, all of the Midnight Club series, all made by Angel Studios, and then they became Rockstar San Diego. They are all incredible. Play all of them. In the case of Midnight Club 2, since that one had a PC release, because the first one was exclusive to the PS2, Midnight Club 2 looks and plays great on PC, because this was Angel Studios had already became, or sorry, it had already become Rockstar San Diego. By the time they released Midnight Club 2, they already were Rockstar San Diego. Also the first one. But well, this one I can perfect. This game needs no modding at all. It natively supports widescreen and unlocked frame rates. It looks awesome. It is awesome. It's probably the best entry, except for Midnight Club Los Angeles that was recently released. And yeah, these are pretty much one of my all-time favorite racing games of all time. So you have to try Midnight Club 2. Get the PC version, because you can play it with a modern controller. As I've said, I play all of these games with an Xbox One joystick, even with a wireless joystick on my PC. So rest assured, I'm showcasing great racing games, and they're all compatible with modern resolutions and with joysticks. So you can use a joystick and it will be perfectly playable. So maybe you have the same problem as with Crazy Taxi 3, if I'm not mistaken, with this one, in which you have to use you cannot use the classic RT and LT bottoms we would usually see in racing games, but they are perfectly playable. Driver Parallel Lines. This one is from Ubisoft, the Driver series. Pretty forgotten. The first ones were Grand Theft Auto clones. And while Driver Parallel Lines is kind of a GTA clone, it has its own personality. The case of this game is pretty similar to Saints Row. The first Saints Row, the second Saints Row, they are so similar to the GTA series, there's no point in playing them, even though I have done so, because I like GTA games as well, not as much as most people, but I like them. And then when they released Saints Row 3, when Volition released Saints Row 3, they found their own unique personality, which made them stand out of the GTA regarding the GTA clones. With Saints Row 3, they were able to create their own idea, their own unique signature, their own unique gameplay, rather than being a GTA clone. I don't know if you get what I mean, but the same could be said for the Driver series. With Parallel Lines, they created their own thing rather than another GTA clone. So yes, you need to get this one. It's a classic. It's pretty good. And yes, I think this one you need to heavily mod this game in order to get it to play at modern resolutions and frame rates. But once you do so, it will look as good as Midnight Club 2. That one. The Forza series, what could I tell you about these games? I finished Forza Motorsport 2, Motorsport 3, all of them on the highest difficulty. I think Forza Motorsport 2 is one of the most difficult games of all time on the highest difficulty. especially the final race. I think it was 30 laps or something like that in the Sebring International Circuit or something like that. It's pretty brutal because you don't have a rewind. In Forza Motorsport 2, you don't have a rewind on the highest difficulty. In Forza Motorsport 3, you have, but in 2, no, you don't. And after 50 laps, well, you can easily it becomes you need to be surgically precise to beat Forza Motorsport 2 on the highest difficulty without rewinds. Forza Motorsport 7, Horizon 3, Horizon 4, Horizon 5, great games. Play them immediately. Play all of the Forza Motorsport and Horizon series. Probably the best games ever created. Not only regarding the racing genre, but in general. I love this genre, and yes, definitely. Need for Speed World. Well, this is the case that these don't need introductions at all. Play them, but immediately. Right now. Play them immediately. I am playing them in order. I need to play Forza Motorsport 4 next, and Horizon 1 and 2. Because Horizon 2, which is modded, I have a specific mod I need to showcase for the Xbox 360. If my channel ever grows, as I've said countless times, the first thing I'm going to do is grab a capture card and showcase my Xbox 360 collection for all of you with all of these game recommendations. But well, because I have something similar to what you are looking at right now, right here, with my PC games collection, but with the Xbox 360 games. It's also modded, and it's great. Need for Speed World. This was originally an MMORPG game. And recently, the fans for the game released an offline reverse-engineered version of Need for Speed World. This game is not playable with a joystick for the most part. You can do so, but it's an MMORPG combined with racing. I love the graphics and the game map here. You can play against the artificial intelligence all you want. The fans have an online server for this one, so they are still playing this great game. And last but not least, I suggest you get this offline version. That's what I do. Just as I told you that with Age of Empires Online, I perfectly enjoy the gameplay with Project Celeste playing on my own. It has a lot of content, of community content, and this was originally an online-only game. Just as I mentioned with the case of Orcs Must Die Unchained. I'm going to mention it again soon because we are getting to the tower defense genre. You can also the MMORPG games. All of these are completely playable offline. Trust me, you won't regret it. As I've said, the experience here is not playing with my friends, it's not doing anything, but rather than that, it's experiencing threading upon sacred ground of the gaming industry. Because all of these games had perfectly crafted online worlds which were lost forever, absolutely forever, and that's not the idea. I don't like that. So I love preserving all of these MMORPG games through reverse engineering. I can play Need for Speed World on my own, offline. This game has gorgeous graphics, and I cannot thank enough the community for reviving all of these games and allowing us to play on our own offline, just as if it would have been a single player game. The same for Age of Empires Online, the same for Orcs Must Die Unchained, and the same for all of these offline MMORPG games that I showcased during the first stream. It's a personal pleasure of mine enjoying all of these offline MMORPG games on my own without anyone bothering me and exploring their worlds. That's the idea. It's not doing some mythic raids or anything like that. No, I enjoy pleasantly getting through the worlds all of these great games have to offer, because since they were originally intended to have a lot of players within them, they are pretty big and impressive. The same for the MOBA, for the offline MOBAs that I've been showcasing. All of them are perfectly playable offline. Need for Speed Underground. This copy of Need for Speed Underground is pretty unique. Besides the custom artwork of the original cover, which I think it's sick, absolutely sick, and well, gorgeous. Need for Speed Underground, this version is modded. It has ray tracing. It looks awesome. It's totally playable with a controller. It's incredible. It's heavily modded. But yes, I can play this game at unlocked resolutions and unlocked. No, I think that once you install the patch, it goes all the way down to 60. It's limited to 60 FPS in the case of this one, but I have gorgeous visuals. This is the Redux mod. It looks gorgeous. You wouldn't recognize the original game, but the original game also looked great. If you play the game unmodded, well, you'll have unlocked frame rates. If you decide to mod it with widescreen resolutions, you may have some. You will have to limit the frame rate to 60 FPS, but it will look gorgeous, like a current gen. It's like a remake in the case of this one. It looks just like a remake. You wouldn't recognize the game if I showed the gameplay for you. Need for Speed Underground 2. This one is not modded, so this one plays at unlocked frame rates. This one looks substantially better than the first one, even though they use the same engine. But yeah, this one I couldn't find any overhaul mods, so well, what could I tell you about these games? These are all great games. This version of Need for Speed Most Wanted, many people regard this game as the best Need for Speed ever created. I think it's this one, for all intents and purposes. This was my first Need for Speed game. I think it's the best. But I must admit that even so, I like the Underground series much more, and that's why I like Need for Speed World that much, because it's so similar to Underground and Underground 2. I must admit, Need for Speed Most Wanted would be a close second place in my personal book. And developed by Criterion Games, the original team. This version is also heavily modded as well. See that I even appreciate this one. And this version, which is heavily modded, you have no idea. This one also looks like a remake. This one literally looks like a remake. Of course, I cannot showcase any of these games because of the copyright. I would have to stream all of these games with the game sound muted, with the music absolutely muted. That's the only way I could showcase these games. But this one has an overhaul, a graphic overhaul mod, and you wouldn't recognize the game. You would probably think it's a modern game. Yes, you wouldn't recognize this one, Underground 1 and Most Wanted, because they are heavily modded. They look great, and trust me, you wouldn't even recognize them. Great games. The same for Need for Speed Carbon, Pro Street. I didn't like this one a lot. This one is like the Dark Souls of Need for Speed games. I finished this game on the hardest difficulty, and I can tell you, it's the most frustrating one of the most frustrating racing games I've ever played. If you liked Forza Motorsport, play this game, but be prepared. Be prepared because this game it's so difficult that you have no idea. You have no idea. I'm still not sure how I could finish this game. How how was I able to finish this game? To this day, I'm still wondering how could I finish this game. I finished all of the Need for Speed games. This one I haven't tried it, except for this one, exactly because this one I was so surprised by this one that this one I'm not sure how I'm going to finish these ones. These ones are developed. These ones were developed by the same team behind Project Cars, so that may explain difficulty. But no, the handling in Project Cars, it's even better than in these games. These ones mix arcade with simulation in a way that it can get pretty frustrating. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, classic game. I have this version. I don't need the remastered version on the released for modern consoles. This one is pretty much the best. It doesn't have permanent internet connection, so great. Need for Speed The Run. People underestimate this game. I love this game. This is a great game. Ignore ignore anyone who tells you this isn't a great game. It may not be the best Need for Speed game, but I loved the concept behind this game. I think this is one of the most underrated racing games I've ever seen. You also have the 3DS version, which isn't as good as this one, of course, but I love the soundtrack in this game. Is one of the best for any Need for Speed game. This game is incredible. So out of all of the modern Need for Speed games, I would choose this one. This one is a good game. The PS Vita version is certainly incredible. I finished this game as well, but it's not as good as the original. And I would suggest the Run over Most Wanted. Well, there I named this one too, but it's not called like that. It's like Need for Speed Most Wanted. They tried to prostitute the original. It has nothing to do with the original. It has gorgeous graphics, but that's pretty much it. The handling can be a bit frustrating. Need for Speed Rivals, good as well. Payback and Hit, pretty average, all of them. I highlight the Run. And from Underground, including Need for Speed World, from Need for Speed World to Carbon, I would suggest all of them. If you liked Forza Motorsport rather than Horizon, I like both of them. I like all of these games in general. I suggest Pro Street, Shift, and Shift 2. And then they went back to the original Need for Speed formula here. And I would highlight, out of all of them, Need for Speed The Run. I hope they soon reverse engineer the community. Please, community, reverse engineer Need for Speed from 2016. That one looked pretty good because it was the same style. It was kind of like the successor of Need for Speed World. It was online only, so it wasn't an option for me, but it was part of the underground style of Need for Speed games. Burnout Paradise. I finished this game. So, yeah, as you can see, I played a lot of racing games. Burnout Paradise, and a lot also on the Xbox 360, all of the Project Gotham Racing series. Here I have Metropolis Street Racer, which is kind of like the precursor, blah blah blah. Split Second, I have the best version of a Split Second is the one in the one on the 360, not on PC, because anyways both of them are capped at 30 FPS. But the Xbox 360 version of a Split Second, which is kind of like the best racing game of the 7th generation, or at least the best arcade racing game of the 7th generation, which is a Split Second. The best version is the one on the Xbox 360 because it has all of the DLCs, which weren't released on PC And anyways, both versions are capped at 30 FPS, and the PC version you cannot use a controller. So since the PC version it's a lazy port, the Xbox 360 port of Split Second is the best with all of the DLCs. Split Second is the best arcade racing game of the 7th generation. Maybe Forza Horizon 2 is a close contestant, but well, here we have a lot of Forza Horizon games, so I think Split Second it's a great highlight. Play Split Second immediately, but on the Xbox 360. Exclusively the Xbox 360 version. Burnout Paradise, I finished this game. I like the soundtrack, but I didn't like the... It's a great racing game. Criterion Games created a great game, but I didn't like it because it has no plot. It pretty much has... it doesn't have a lot of racing modes. It doesn't have licensed vehicles. The Burnout series never had licensed vehicles, but they were about something totally different than Burnout Paradise. This is not a bad game. I enjoyed it, but it looks good. It looks pretty good, but it's not the original Burnout series, and it's not as good as Need for Speed Most Wanted or the other one. I don't like Burnout Paradise that much. It was a great game, but I didn't. I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it's a perfect game. I think people overhype this game way too much. I think people hype this game way too much. It's not as good as other racing games. The original Burnout series, yes, totally agree. Probably one of the most influential racing franchises of all time, but not Burnout Paradise. Driver San Francisco. I'm going to stream this game. Because I played the hell out of this game, and you have no idea how great this game is. Get this game immediately. Thank me later. Thank Eraser later. I know it's weird to talk in third person, but thank me later. Get this game immediately. You need to have this game if you are a fan of the racing genre. This one is much better than Burnout Paradise, at least the single player portion of the game, which is the one I care about. Get Driver San Francisco immediately. This is a modern game, the successor of Driver Parallel Lines, the only modern entry except for the 3DS entry, which is Driver Renegade. Except for Driver Renegade, this one is the best version of the Driver series, the most up-to-date version, the one with the best mechanics, the best plot, the best graphics, the best everything. If you liked Midtown Madness, this game is for you. And since I loved Midtown Madness 2, this is the spiritual successor of Midtown Madness as well. This game is great, 10 out of 10, highly recommended. Get this game immediately and thank me later. You won't regret it. Trust me. You'll have to trust me, because Driver San Francisco, you are making a terrible mistake if you are not playing this game. I'm going to showcase this one. If you haven't played this game by now, you are making a terrible mistake. Play this game right now. The PC version is the best. It's compatible with modern joysticks, modern graphics, everything. Unlocked resolutions. I don't know if it has a 60 FPS cap, but I don't think so. I think it has unlocked frame rates. Perfect. A perfect game. Test Drive Unlimited 2. The handling on this one could have been better. I liked the game nonetheless. I had the first Test Drive Unlimited on the PSP because it's impressive, because the graphics for the first one are much worse, and there's not much difference between the PC version and the PSP version, because the PSP version it's an exact replica of the PC version of the home consoles version. So there's I suggest you get the PSP version for Test Drive Unlimited 1, and you get the second one, which is of course better and great. Gear Club Unlimited 2, it has nothing to do with the previous game, but they have a pretty similar name. This one was recently released on the Switch, and it was ported to PC, so it's an exclusive to PC and Switch. And this game is incredible. I like these kinds of games with modern graphics. I love this style of games, regardless of the fact that they are not Need for Speed, that they are not Forza Horizon. I love the graphics in this game, and it's pretty good. This one doesn't need an introduction. This one is the Ultimate Edition, because the PC version is pretty much the best of this game. Get it because it's good. Dangerous Driving, as I've said, the Burnout series are the best, are probably the most influential games of the racing genre of all time, maybe except for Need for Speed and Gran Turismo, and well, some arcade games such as Outrun and absolute classics. But well, the Burnout series inspired this indie team to create a modern incarnation of the Burnout series. This is Dangerous Driving. It's lacking a lot of content. It's not like a Burnout game, but it's a modern example of what Burnout could have been with a modern release instead of Burnout Paradise. But well, if you liked the classic Burnout modes, you'll probably like Dangerous Driving. Ridge Racer Unbounded. Most people love to hate. Most people hate this game, but I'll tell you what. This game is good. This game is good. It has good graphics. It may not be as long as I would like it to be, but it's good. The gameplay mechanics are good. The graphics are good. I don't see why you wouldn't play it, because the game is perfectly fine. It has some interesting mechanics, and I suggest you play it. And if you like this game and classic Ridge Racer games, I suggest you check out another game that I'm going to showcase, which is much better than the Ridge Racer series, because it has Sega behind it with a lot of incredible developers, and it's called Storm Racer G. You need to play Storm Racer G because it's probably the best modern arcade racing game I've seen. The game is exclusive to arcade cabinets, but wait, I have a fix for that we are going to reveal later down the road. But just so you know, Storm Racer G, you need to check out that one. Dirt Showdown. I don't like the Dirt series, but I like Dirt Showdown. It's one of those weird cases. For example, I don't like Devil May Cry, but I like Bayonetta. I know, pretty strange, but that's the case. I like Dirt Showdown. I think this game rocks. It's the best, but I don't like any rally racing games. I don't like Dirt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at all. I just like Dirt Showdown. It has nothing to do with the rally game. Evolution GT. This game surprised me, because this game, I didn't need to mod this game, even though it's pretty old, 2007. For me that's not old, but in terms of technical problems, it is old. But I can play this one perfectly with a controller and unlocked frame rates. This is pretty much Gran Turismo. This is Gran Turismo on PC. Careful, because this game is actually called Corvette Evolution GT on North American territories. For the US and Canada, be careful, because this one is called Corvette Evolution GT, and you would think, well, this one is dedicated to Corvettes. No, wrong. That's why the European release for the game is just Evolution GT, because it's actually a Gran Turismo clone, a simulation racing game, a racing simulation game, pretty similar to Gran Turismo, with slow cars, with physics, with all of that. It's technically impressive for the time it was released in, since you can play this game with a controller, except for the menus, and it has a mode similar to Gran Turismo. I highly recommend you get Evolution GT immediately. I suggest you get it. If you like Gran Turismo on PC, there you can see that I have Gran Turismo 4, of course, my favorite entry, the best. Well, just so you know, get Gran Turismo 4. The PC version is the best, let's say, with everything you can do. Let's say, you know what to do. You know what to do with regarding Gran Turismo 4 on PC. It's the best version. But if you are not satisfied with that, if you need more, I do need, because as I've said, I play a lot of racing games. And I played a lot of Gran Turismo, I played a lot of Forza Motorsport, Project Gotham Racing, Metropolis Street Racer. It was a pretty fond surprise discovering Evolution GT, right? So I highly suggest you get this game. Don't think it just has Corvettes, please, because for a lot of years I thought this game only had Corvettes in it because of the title, and then I discovered the European release title, and then I realized it had a lot of different brands and everything. Race Driver Grid, this one is modded to fix most of the problems this game had, because it was originally an arcade release or something like that. I don't know. This is the best version with all of the content, unlocked frame rates, unlocked resolutions. This game is tough, absolutely tough, but gorgeous. Yes, this game is highly recommended. Learn to mod this game to get the most out of it, and the game is absolutely gorgeous. Get it immediately, a must play, and it's our moral duty modding all of these games so they can play at unlocked resolutions and frame rates. But trust me, this is the best version you could possibly imagine of Race Driver Grid. I also highlight this game and this game. They both have Nintendo DS versions, which are much more arcadey, or yes. And you can definitely also play the DS versions. There are enough differences between the DS versions and these versions, and you'll probably like them. If you have a DS, a DSi Lite, or something like that, get the Nintendo DS versions of these games. Grid 2, Grid Autosport, they're all great, no complaints, they're all awesome. Grid, and then I need to get the one they released recently, Grid Legends. I need to get that one. I'm lacking that one. But yeah, the Grid series, they're all great. Ignore anyone who tells you this game isn't good. This game is great. This game is absolutely great. Maybe it's not as good as the original, or 2, or Autosport, but they are all great games. Project Cars, we are heading more and more into the simulation territory. Well, we were already here. Heading into simulation territory. Pure simulation territory. Project Cars, from the developers of Need for Speed Shift, which I finished, Need for Speed Shift 2 Unleashed, which I am afraid of playing because of how frustrating this game is. And I think they also developed Pro Street. Slightly Mad Studios, they were going to release a console, but then they scrapped that concept, and they went back to release Project Cars 3, Project Cars 2. It's also great. I remember I used this game to measure the performance of my old GTX 960, which could play this game at more or less 40 FPS after a lot of tweaking, but then now I can play this game perfectly at unlocked frame rates. I love the first Project Cars. It's a great game. It's a personal favorite of mine, and I need to try the second one and the third one. They are all great games, but they are pretty difficult without the driving assistances. These are much more oriented towards simulation. Think of them as similar to Forza Motorsport, even a bit more complex. Assetto Corsa, pure simulation. Here, I should place a warning and say, careful with this one because this is pure simulation. You may get frustrated pretty easily. You'll have a lot of issues if you don't know what you're doing. You need to be careful. Most of these games are actually played with a steering wheel. I don't use a steering wheel and I perfectly play them on hard difficulty, but I must admit it can get pretty frustrating at times, but they are great games from Kudos Simulazione, Italian. I think it's an Italian studio because, I don't know, the name is Italian. I don't know. Assetto Corsa Competizione. Yes, I'm half Italian, in case you didn't know. I'm half Italian, yes. I have dual citizenship. NASCAR Heat 4. I pretty much every year uninstall the previous version of NASCAR Heat and install the most modern version because I love NASCAR. So yeah, pretty much if you like NASCAR, this is the best game you can get, except of course for Daytona USA. I have Daytona USA 1, 2, and 3 playable right here on PC, the best versions. So except for those, of course, NASCAR Heat is a great alternative. Test Drive Ferrari Racing Legends, great game. You only use Ferrari vehicles, as you can imagine. It has exclusive prequel on the PS3, which I cannot remember the name. A Race Ferrari or something like that. This one is the sequel. The PC version is the best. This game looks gorgeous. You can explore all of the history of Ferrari in this game while having pretty good gameplay mechanics. This one is pretty similar to Forza Horizon, or well, rather than that one, Motorsport. It's rather, yes, it's pretty similar to Forza Motorsport, and it's not as, it doesn't have such a perfectly replicated simulation mechanics, but it's pretty good. So I think you'll enjoy this one if you enjoy any of the Forza Motorsport series. This one should actually be, I need to move this one more over here because it's between simulation and an arcade. It's not like Project Cars 100% or Assetto Corsa. The same maybe for NASCAR Heat. Blur. I'll tell you this about Blur. I finished this game as well as a Split Second completely. And Split Second is 100 times better than Blur. This one is a classic Mario Kart clone, but just with modern cars. Most people like this game more than Split Second. Incredibly, both Blur and Split Second were released pretty close to each other, I think on the same month. So yeah, they kind of like cancelled each other out in an unprecedented way, but I've never seen something like that in the gaming industry, but there are cases. I'm sure of it. But yeah, Split Second, I played both of these games on the hardest difficulty, each one of them. And Split Second, it's much better than Blur. My 2 cents. Those are my 2 cents. Split second velocity. It's much better than Blur. You can also have the PSP version for split second, and it's also great. But the Xbox 360 version of split second is much better than Blur in every, not just the version, the game. Split second is better than Blur in every single category. It has a lot more of the artificial intelligence is challenging in both games. Blur it's also difficult, but split second is the golden standard in my book. Split second is the golden standard ever created. The best racing game of the 7th generation, maybe except for all of the Forza, Horizon, and Motorsport games. But well, and the Project Gotham Racing series. But well. Regarding the arcade games with weapons like this, with carts, split second reigns supreme. Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. I finished this game twice because I finished this game on the highest difficulty possible, which is the one you unlock after finishing the game for the first time on hard difficulty. I have all of the races completed. I've completed all of the races. This game is awesome. What could I tell you about this game? This game is perfection, absolute perfection. Get this game immediately. On PC, careful because there's a trick. You don't need to mod this game, but what you need to do is, the best way to enjoy this game is get a G-Sync monitor just like mine. Get a G-Sync monitor, or even if you don't have a G-Sync monitor, but if you have one, the game will play perfectly. But regardless of your monitor, even if you don't want to do that, limit the frame rate to 60 FPS and use on the NVIDIA control panel the fixed refresh rate option, because otherwise this game will have heavy stuttering, and most people think the port for this game, the PC port for this game, is broken. It's not. It's just outdated, right? It's just outdated. You cannot play the game above 60 FPS, just like most Japanese games from the 7th generation, but the port is not broken. You need to just configure the game on the NVIDIA control panel to be played at locked 60 FPS with the fixed refresh rate option, right? That's the thing. There's another indie game, some indie games, I have some examples which they require you to do this, because otherwise, while the game will be playable, it will have a lot of stuttering. But just so you know, I can prove to all of you, I can warranty and certify that you can play Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, a great game from 2011. The best version is the PC version. Don't let anyone confuse you or tell you otherwise. The best version is the PC version, but once you know how to use it, you need to play the game at locked 60 FPS, something the consoles, I don't think they even achieved. They are at 30 FPS if I'm not mistaken. They run at 30 FPS. This one has 60 FPS, the best graphics, and all you need to do is just select fixed refresh rate on the NVIDIA control panel. That's all you need to do, I promise. And if you get a G-Sync monitor, if you have a G-Sync monitor, this game at 60 FPS, even if you are using the fixed technology, it will look incredible. This game is incredible, and the PC version is the best. Trust me. You just have to. It's not a broken port. You need to learn how to not fix the game, rather than how to configure the executable. But it's totally doable. Team Sonic Racing. Most people didn't like this one. It's not as good as this one, of course. This one is kind of like on par with Mario Kart. This one is the only kart game which is close to Mario Kart. Maybe Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled, but I'm waiting for the PC release for that one. And now we have Chocobo GP. I need to get all of those. I love these games, but yes, this section will soon have a lot of extra card racing games. I'm lacking Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel. I'm waiting for the PC release. The Nvidia leaked spreadsheet had Crash Team Racing Nitro Fuel, so it will eventually release. I am sure of it. I don't know what they are waiting for, but well, eventually I think it will release. I don't want to lose hope. Then Chocobo GP, and well, I have all of the Mario Kart games for sure, and these ones. But besides all of those, Crash Team Racing, I also have one more, the Tag Team Racing on the Xbox 360, thanks to the backwards compatibility mod I applied to it. So we have Crash Team Racing, Chocobo GP, Mario Kart, of course, and Sonic All-Stars Racing. But after you played all of those, you can check out F1 Race Stars. Yes, it's kind of like a Mario Kart clone made by Codemasters, the masterminds behind Race Driver Grid. So it has good handling. But yes, it's pretty much an arcade racing game. I suggest you try this one if you have already played all of the ones that I mentioned. Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing, all of them, Nitro Fuel, Tag Team Racing, Sonic All-Stars Racing Transform, Team Sonic Racing, Mario Kart. Play Mario Kart Double Dash before playing any of the modern Mario Kart games. Please do yourself a favor. Play Double Dash, because that one is the best, except for the one they just released with all of the courses and that. But even so, Double Dash, it's unbeatable in my book. Agent Intercept, get this game. If you like the Spy Hunter games, you remember those? The Spy Hunter games on the original Xbox, on the PS Vita and 3DS. It was their latest release back in 2012. And Agent Intercept, it's a pretty similar concept. It's kind of like the spiritual successor to the Spy Hunter series of games. If you play those, here you use weapons. It's based upon 007 and those kinds of spy movie games, something like that. You get a car with a lot of weapons and you shoot other cars, and in some crazy missions. Tabletop Racing World Tour. I must admit that the Nintendo Switch version for this one is probably the most complete version, yes. But since I don't have a Switch, I have the Tabletop Racing World Tour here. Without all of the content that I would love to have. But this one has better graphics, so, well, it's a trade-off we are doing here. A great game. It's also on the PS Vita. It had some expansions, the Ice expansion or something like that. Pretty good. But it's true the Nintendo Switch version is the most complete out of all of them. Hot Wheels Unleashed. Don't underestimate this game, because just because of the Hot Wheels in the title. Don't underestimate this game. This one was recently released and is the best Hot Wheels game ever created by a long shot. There were a lot during the 6th generation of consoles. There were a lot of Hot Wheels games. They were all flawed to some extent, but this one is finally the one which redeemed the franchise in the gaming industry. Hot Wheels Unleashed, it's an absolutely great game. Don't underestimate it, because this game is absolutely awesome. You will thank me later. if you didn't know about this game, because it was pretty famous. It was released last year. Yeah, it was pretty famous last year. Rocket League, of course. This one is the last version, because now this one is free to play. This one is now free to play, and this is the last version. This one is kind of like frozen in time. It's the last offline version of Rocket League. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because of money. But they decided to make an offline game online only after a lot of updates. Well, so I frozen this one in time. I've frozen this one in time, or I froze this one in time. Both are perfectly fine. And yes, this is the last version. You'll be surprised to know I play on my own against bots, and I have an absolute blast. The game looks gorgeous. What could I tell you about this game? It's pretty famous. Shark Roads. Do you remember? Where is it? This one is similar to this one. No. This one is like Vigilante 8. Do you remember that game? Or the Twisted Metal series? You must remember those. I never liked the Twisted Metal series because of the presentation and that crazy clown. Whatever, but it's yeah, this one is basically a combat simulator with vehicles, a vehicle combat simulator, something like that. Similar to the recently released on the PS5. What was it called? I can't remember. It's the one which looked like Fortnite but with cars and people killing each other in an arena. Destruction All Stars. Similar to that one, but much better with offline modes and much better. Skydrift Infinity. This one is about planes, but it's also about racing. So I have no idea where to place this game. Maybe I'm going to place this one. I should place that one with right here with Warhammer 40k Daka Squadron. But the problem is this one is not about combat, but it's about racing. So this one is a conflicted case. I don't know where to place this game. Pacer. This one originally had a different name. Formula Fusion. Formula Fusion was the original name. I don't know how I remember all of these things. I have pretty good memory, but that's it. This one, the name for this one was, the original name was Formula Fusion. Then they shifted the development focus and everything. It was kind of like restarted. I don't know what they did. They had a lot of people criticized Formula Fusion a lot, and then it became Pacer, and now it's a good game. It was a troubled development cycle, but I can assure you, Pacer, it's a great game. These are all anti-gravity racing games, such as in the same vein as F-Zero, the same as the Wipeout series, the same as the Fast RMX series. So yeah, you can't go wrong with any of these. Pacer, Redout, check out this one, it's probably the best. Anti-Graviator and anti-gravity racing at its finest. Distance, Race the Future. Be careful with the version of this one for other systems, because I think this one is only playable on PC as far as I'm concerned, because the console versions for Race the Future, they are absolutely broken. I don't know if they fixed them, but they were absolutely broken. The PC version is definitely the best. Distance it's a much more indie game, and it's kind of like an endless runner, but yes, it has the gameplay mechanics are those of an anti-gravity racing game. The same for Anti-Graviator, Redout, Pacer. All of these are great recommendations. If you liked F-Zero, if you liked Wipeout on the PlayStation, grab these games. Grip Combat Racing, this one is the spiritual successor to a famous game released on the original PlayStation, which I cannot remember. But yes, it was kind of, as the name suggests, well, it says combat racing. This one is not about destroying enemy vehicles. Rather than that, it's about attaching your vehicle to different surfaces. It's similar to a game, I don't know if it was called Spike or something like that on the PlayStation 1. Feel free to remind me of the name of that game in the comments. But yes, it's not like Rocket League. It's a racing game, pretty similar to these anti-gravity games, but its own. It's kind of like its own thing. As I've said, it's the spiritual successor for a very famous PS1 game. Xenon. Oh wait, Xenon Racer. No, forget what I said about Race the Future. This one is the one which is unplayable on other versions. Then this one is yeah, now I remember this one. This one looks pretty good, and I think it's similar to Distance, kind of like an endless runner or something like that. But these are all great anti-gravity racing games. See that I used that silver circle to identify them. They are all great games. Xenon Racer is unplayable on the Switch, and I'm not sure about the PlayStation and Xbox versions. So yes, I played most of these, except for these last 4 or something like that. Xenon Racer, as I've said, get the PC version immediately because I vividly remember how bad the rest of the versions were. Well, how bad they were. All right. Oof, we finished, but tonight we covered the space simulation genre alongside the arcade 3D on rails shooters, twin-stick shooters, arcade racing games, the case of this offline MMORPG racing game of Need for Speed World, modded all of these cases of modded Need for Speed games, and all the way to hardcore simulation racing games that I've been showcasing. And last but not least, Kart Racing, the case of Split Second, and last but not least, anti-gravity racing. The next genre that we are going to explore right here, it's tower defense, then 3D tower defense, I can see there, then card games, and then we covered the 3D platforming genre previously and the 3D action adventure genre with light RPG touches and hack and slash games. They're pretty much covered there, so we should begin here with the Ultimate Ninja Storm series, the 3D fighting and 2D fighting games, and well, then we'll continue there, and then we just have the final row. We are probably going to finish next time or during the other stream. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure sharing this night with all of you, also sharing my great collection of games. As I've said, this is the ultimate collection, my best effort. I know there must be some crazy collectors out there who have even more games, but I'm not sure about all of the forgotten digital only games that I've been showcasing as options. Besides, all of these are fixed and they can all be playable. They are all playable at unlocked resolutions and frame rates. That's the interesting part of my collection. They are all fixed and they all play on modern resolutions, or at modern resolutions and at modern frame rates. And for me, that's a plus. All of the games that I've showcased throughout this series, they are all playable at its best on PC. That's the truth of the matter. These are all the best versions, the most complete versions, with all of the extra content and a lot of forgotten digital gems which are exclusive to PC, and most people usually forget about them. I hope my recommendations were useful for all of you, fans of the, in this case, racing genre, twin stick shooter genre, and space simulation genre. All of my games are offline. All of the games that I've recommended are perfectly playable offline and without any kind of permanent internet connection, so you won't have the problems you are having right now with Gran Turismo 7. What a sacrilege, what an insult. Honestly, if I were playing an online game and somebody told me they were about to shut down the servers or nerf my characters, I would get so mad. I would get so mad. And I know that for a lot of you, that's something pretty common. And I want to show you that things could be different if we all followed this idea of preserving all of our games and not and rejecting online only games, because that's killing the gaming industry. We are losing a lot of incredible worlds. I told you endlessly that I'm waiting for people to reverse engineer the servers for Willstar as well as Dark Spore. Those two games, I terribly miss them. Dark Spore and Willstar. They didn't deserve to die, and well, now I cannot play them. That's the reality of the situation. I know what you will tell me, but you have thousands of games. You even reverse engineer yet, but none of them are the same as Willstar, and none of them are the same as Dark Spore. And it's a shame that we lost those two magnificent worlds, because they were huge games, most of the ones I'm referring to. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been my pleasure. Next time, tower defense genre, trading card genre, digital trading card genre. Be ready, because I'm going to showcase a lot of those, due to the fact that most trading card games nowadays are online only, and I have plenty of options for you to choose from. All of them are portable, so you can transfer them to an external hard drive. Most of the games that I've been showcasing, well, you would need to install them, but you can transfer them to an external hard drive and then bring them with you. That's the idea. That's the main idea. So, it's been my pleasure. I hope my suggestions were useful for all of you. Be sure to stay tuned. Check out the previous pods, just in case you're interested in the RPG genre, RTS genre, FPS genre, third-person shooter genre, RTT genre, real-time tactics genre, everything. Arena shooters against the best bots that I've showcased. I highlighted Unreal Tournament 3, for example. And yeah, check out those bots for the detailed descriptions of all of these games. So, it's been my pleasure. See you all on Thursday. It's been a blast sharing my personal collection with all of you. Besides, I also have my, just in case I've said this, I am also doing this just in case my hard drives fail, because all of this is stored locally. I don't want to rely on the internet, because if there's a solar storm, if World War III breaks out, we won't have internet. It will be a disaster, and I wanted to have immediate access to all of these games. All of these are playable offline. This is the work of my life. It took me, well, it's not the most important thing I've done. I've done a lot of other things, being a lawyer, an English teacher, and professor, and now trying to be a programmer, and a lot of things. But this collection, it's a personal achievement. It took me over 10 years. Don't think I did this throughout the course of a weekend. You'll probably be able to, because you have the knowledge now. You have my knowledge here. This is all of my knowledge. Not all of it, because I also have some other digital collections. But yes, you have all of my knowledge right here. So use it well. Learn to embrace all of these forgotten games, and you won't regret it. Trust me. So it's been my pleasure. See you all on Thursday. Bye bye.